So thank you. My time is really short, so hang on to your seats. I'm going to give you a really brief overview of some research resources that you can dig into when time allows. So this is just a very high-level research review to get the conversation started. Let me introduce the company first. As Maren mentioned, we started back in the 90s in 1992. Something like this would have been unheard of because it's such a whiplash of a market that happened over just a couple of decades, which is unprecedented, I think, in social change. So we're a full-service market research firm. We do surveys, focus groups, and interviews, et cetera, specifically around LGBTQ. And at the end, I'm going to show you some of the research reports that everybody can download for free off of our website, and I encourage you to do that. So we've had an opportunity to work with many different destinations and tourism and hospitality companies over the past couple of decades. Many of them are on this screen, but many of them just didn't fit. But it just means that there are lots and lots of data that's sort of collected in our brains, which is great. So for the brand newbies, and I realize many of you are experienced veterans, some of you are brand new to this market segment, why is this conversation even happening? Why is this important show even happening? Because back in 1992, the Wall Street Journal published an article saying, we are a DINK market, double income, no kids, which was breakthrough. Everybody in this room wants customers that have two incomes without children to spend all that money on. So there's a lot of discretionary income. Travel's part of our cultural identity. If you go into a gay bar or you talk to LGBTQ friends, the first thing that they're going to talk about is where they've been and where they plan on going. And most of us never really unpack before we start packing for the next trip. There's a perception of greater wealth. I say perception because it's really about demographics, where we live. We live in urban environments where everybody makes more money, but that's still good news for everybody here. There are very targeted outreach opportunities, which I think you'll learn about here as well. We are brand loyal, we're destination loyal. So if you make a good impression, especially with the LGBTQ market, with a lot of issues and baggage that we carry as consumers, you're gonna make a long-term friend. And even though we're only a small percentage of the overall market, we estimate that we're about 10% of tourism and hospitality. So these are some generalities just to keep in mind. I also want to mention that LGBTQ is now part of diversity. When we started the company back in 1992, it was really very siloed, separate. A few different companies put a little rainbow on something and published the ad, and it wasn't really mixed into that diversity conversation. Now it is. And I think we'll hear from Hilton and some of the other panelists that now diversity and LGBTQ are really intersectional. And I also want to mention that diversity is very much a part of LGBTQ. Men purchase differently than women. Older purchase very differently than younger. So there are lots of different segments within LGBTQ that we need to look at as well. So diversification. When we started the company, it was really the gay market. Then it became gay and lesbian as we uncovered some research on the lesbian segment and really demonstrated that it's a huge untapped opportunity. Here it is, 2019. It's still a huge untapped opportunity. So look at the lesbian community. And our terminology has changed. I'm going to talk a little bit about that over the years to reflect that respect for the diversity of the LGBTQ community. So when we do research, we don't say, are you straight or are you homosexual? We say, look at that list. And we let people choose all that apply. And that's super important in our research, that we really recognize and embrace everybody. So terminology. Everybody wants to know, what should we call this community in our communications? And it's a great question because every year it changes, which is exciting and frustrating. Because as we continue to embrace that diversity, we have to have terminology that reflects that. So we found for the first time LGBTQ is the most favored term for our community. LGBT is still fine if that's what you're using. You don't need to really change up anything. A few companies and organizations are starting to add the plus, which kind of refers to everything else. And that's acceptable. and growing in acceptability as well. The term queer it's kind of a mixed bag. It depends on who you're talking to and who's talking to you. If I'm American Airlines, I can't call the community queer, but if I am a tour operator or a film festival or a bar, then certainly. So it depends on context. So I like this chart, and again, you can have this chart to take to your teams. These are the terms that are acceptable, not acceptable, and depends on context. And you'll see another term here that wasn't listed before, LGBTQI. If you're in Europe marketing to Europeans, or if you're in Latin America marketing to Latin Americans, they're using LGBTI or LGBTQI, I for intersex, more than we are here in North America so far. The reason I put GLBT in the not okay is because it's really an antique. That was starting to become popular in the 90s, but now it really has reverted to LGBTQ. I can go into a lot of that in future conversations. So, what I mentioned about the lesbian community, if we ask lesbians, and we do, our corporations, our businesses, our destinations, our hotels, speaking to the lesbian community, 5% say yes. That's shocking in 2019. The opportunity is there for half of the gay and lesbian market, that lesbian half, if you address and embrace the lesbian community. We found the same thing with the transgender community and with communities of color. We asked the African American community, the Latino community, the Asian community, are corporations addressing you and speaking to you as an LGBTQ member in their outreach? Very, very few are saying yes. So if you want to be successful in the LGBTQ market, it can be expensive, it can be challenging, but if you want to be successful in a segment within LGBTQ, that's where it's affordable and that's where you can make the greatest impact. So the way we look at it is explore your markets, explore the markets within those markets, and then start to address those marketing segments. It's like putting an ad in Time magazine or the New York Times, very expensive to reach everybody. But if you put an ad in Curve just to reach the lesbian community, you're doing that very affordably. So that's kind of the message there. A great case study for segmentation is Fort Lauderdale. They've been around since 1996, reaching out to the community, and they wanted to really understand the segments within LGBTQ, so they commissioned a study on the transgender community. They said, okay, we're saying LGBT, what about this T? What is it? What makes them tick? So they commissioned a study, which is available for free off the website, and they interpreted that into the first ever transgender community outreach, which I think is brilliant. They did a similar thing with families, again, interpreting it to an LGBTQ family message, which I think, again, they do a phenomenal job, and also millennials. So these are segments within a segment that really can be the key to your success out there. So let me just introduce a few slides from our tourism survey, give you a couple links, and I'll run off the stage. So first of all, what type of traveler are we? Relaxation traveler, cuisine is really important for the community. Traveling like a local is really important for the community, but it may be different for each one sitting in this room. So research really helps to unfold what those opportunities are and what the motivations are to explore your destination or be part of your tour or visit your hotel. Generally speaking, these are some of the attributes that we look for as a summary. Safety, I want to mention, is really key. In our community, safety is in the back of our minds everywhere we go and everything we do. I think different or more than the general market, so keep that in mind. Nightlife is more important to the gay male community. Outdoor activities is more important to the lesbian community. There's a lot of overlap there. I love outdoor activities. I'm on my mountain bike or in my hiking boots as much as I can. So it's not exactly specific to each community, but there are some trends there. And family travel is super important. If you're already outreaching to the family segment, I would say you interpret your message to LGBTQ families as well. It's a growing market segment, and it's very important. We're looking for not only as families LGBTQ friendly, but we're looking for family friendly. So hotels and destinations kind of have to be both. International travel is huge, and I'm so impressed by that list of the exhibitors and by the attendees at the international crowd here. International travel is by far and away the reason that LGBTQ stands out. 77% of the LGBTQ community we surveyed has a valid passport, compared to under 30% of the US general population. And we don't only have a passport and put it in our sock drawer, we use it every year. So this is a market segment that really does resonate with international travel. I mentioned safety. I just want to highlight that. A lot of the general market is concerned about visas and language and currency and some of the bigger obstacles that the general market faces when we're thinking about traveling to Peru or we're thinking about traveling to Vietnam. But among the LGBTQ community, because we're very seasoned travelers, those are really minor to us. It's really all about making sure that we're safe at that destination. So in conclusion, there are lots of research reports available on our website. You go there, you click on research, you download them, there's no charge. Really, really encourage you to do that. This is not our day job. Our day job are our clients, of course, but we produce this to raise everybody's boat. A lot of companies and destinations use our research, and it helps them with their understanding of the community. So definitely download those first two, the community survey and our 23rd annual LGBTQ travel survey. 23 years we've been doing that. It's pretty phenomenal. We also have our African American survey, our wedding survey, the transgender survey, the business-to-business survey, and China. If you're not reaching to China, hey, China's the largest LGBTQ market in the world because China's the largest everything market in the world. So take a look at that and really understand those opportunities. We also produce a conference every year. This year it'll be in Las Vegas. It's 3 days of fully educational programs. Encourage you to dive into that. And if you're not yet a member of the International LGBTQ Travel Association, that would probably be one of the first things that you would do when you leave here today is join and participate. It's a phenomenal organization and we're longtime supporters. So back to this, if you want the presentation file, if you want reports, just send me a quick email, say reports, doesn't have to be a long, elaborate thing, and I'll respond back with those links that I promised. Thank you.